today's video, we are officially starting to decorate for the holiday season. I'm going to share with you guys all of my thrifting tips and tricks and how to get a really elevated and sophisticated holiday look, but on a super tight budget. So we have several spaces to get through today. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right into it. Starting off this decorate with me for Christmas in, of course, the entryway, which you guys have seen me tackle in the past. The first change I wanted to make was to this entryway here. I really loved the look of that little makeshift shelf that we made using that antique drawer. However, it doesn't provide me with any storage, and I can kind of get away with it for spring and summer, but once fall and winter rolls around and I really need a place to store hats, gloves, things that are easy for my kids to also access but put away, I think is going to be crucial. So my neighbor said that somebody that she knows was getting rid of all of this stuff, so I just grabbed this dresser and I'm going to use the same paint that I used on my front door, and we're just going to do the same technique that I did on my front door, on my stair rail, and now apply it to this dresser. The first thing I needed to do was just, of course, clean the dresser out really well, and then now it's time for paint. So this is the first application you do. You want to make sure that the color that you're choosing really complements your floors really well. My floors definitely have a gray undertone, so it's important to go in with kind of grayish tone underneath before I apply the antiquing wax. For the antiquing wax, I kind of just like to get most of the product on the actual piece itself and then spreading the wax out using different sorts of brushes to get a really kind of natural grained effect. I'll use one brush to just simply apply it on there, and then I'll use a thick kind of bristle block brush to really make those nice deep grain strokes, and then to soften it I'll use like a makeup brush just to kind of buff out anything that's a little too harsh. Once that becomes fully dry, then I like to go in with a sealer just to kind of lock everything in place. When you apply your sealer, just make sure that you are also using a brush and don't use a roller, because that can create a lot of bubbles. Because I didn't want to spend any money on this piece of furniture, the dresser was free, I had all the paint and supplies. So for the hardware, the only two styles of hardware that I had 6 of, which is what I needed for this specific dresser, were these two. So I opted for these black ones here because I felt that they just tied in better with the stairs as well. So now with the entryway table pretty much done, I needed to choose a mirror. So I found this arch mirror for a few dollars using a website called mac.bid, I believe it's called. And basically it's like an Amazon return store where you can get things for like dirt cheap, like cheaper than a thrift store. So my first thought was we were gonna put this mirror here, but it's still kind of a little bit too small. So when I was at the thrift store, I found this mirror and it was $16. If you guys remember, I found a mirror super similar to this and I ended up putting it in my bathroom down here that I'll share with you guys a little bit later on. But I loved like just how big and like luxe it felt in comparison to this one. The thrifted mirror really just needed to be cleaned very well and then of course hung up. And I think if you are in a small space, going bigger with your mirror is just going to make the space feel that much bigger and brighter because it's going to bounce light in a really beautiful way. For accessories, I think often a lot of us feel we need to go out to Target and buy the latest Studio McGee Christmas vase floral arrangement, but often you can just shop your house. For example, I had previously thrifted and then made over this vase here that was originally from Kirkland's, kind of gave it an antique look. Always good to mix materials. So we already have our faux wood on the dresser, we have the brass in the mirror, so adding something that looks kind of like aged in ceramic like this is a really nice pairing. So now for the stems, even if you can't find every single stem at the thrift store and you have to substitute with a few retail stems like I did here, I bought 2 from Michael's, the rest were thrifted. So it really can dramatically reduce the cost of a floral or vase arrangement if you can source most of it secondhand and then just supplement a few pieces retail. added this velvet ribbon that I will link in the description box below. It was really affordable from Amazon. The next thing I wanted to add was some sort of like a catch-all tray, which is really great to have in points of entry of your space, just to kind of corral loose change and keys and all of the things. Moving along now into the staircase. So this is kind of what the space looked like when we first bought the house, and we've made several changes. Again, I used that same painting technique on the stair rail, and we grabbed spindles from Menards and we just kind of DIY'd that whole situation. It was so affordable. Some of you might remember when I found these 3 garlands that were all just slightly different from one another. So last year I used these for my mantle, but I'm doing something else for my mantle this year. So I thought these would be perfect for the stair rail. So again, to just unify them, I just removed the parts that made them different from each other, so they kind of just looked like the same garland. I used 1 garland for each side, just a kind of minimal look, and I just kind of swagged it down ever so slightly. And then to attach it to the stair rail, I just used some heavy duty zip ties to make sure that everything would stay in place. And then to hide the zip tie there, I just decided to use, again, that same velvet ribbon, make it nice, long, and dramatic. And it is such a moment when you first walk into the space. Kind of just, again, draws your eyes up and really welcomes the upcoming holiday season. Moving along now into the dining room. This again was kind of what it looked like. We painted the walls and we switched out the light fixture and also added new flooring. Those were kind of like the basic things that we did to get this room to a more just kind of neutral space. And this has been pretty much the gallery wall since we made all of those changes. And I've been really wanting to swap out those pictures for something a bit smaller, but everything that I kept coming back with was going to be a couple $100s. So I just decided to go to the Dollar Tree and just see how this would look if I just tried to make my own mats. And basically I just made a template. And then once I was happy with how the template looked, I just applied that to all 8 pieces of poster board, so I would be able to kind of switch out pictures a little bit more easily. Now for Christmas, I of course wanted to have more Christmas specific pictures. So now with all of the pictures changed out, I feel like that just made such a huge difference by just removing a lot of the color from this room that was really specific and just kind of giving it a neutral color palette that was like more appropriate for Christmas and the style that I'm going with. So don't be afraid to just grab some poster board from the Dollar Tree for like $5, print pictures out at home on your computer. You don't need to go to Walgreens. Now I wanted to talk about my dining room table. Now don't judge me too badly, okay? I have a 3 and 5-year-old. We do a lot of crafting at home. We do a lot of things that are messy, and I'm just really not interested at this stage in my life investing in an expensive piece of furniture that I know will likely just get banged up anyway. And tablecloths can be sometimes more than I'm willing to spend, especially if you're talking about Pottery Barn and McGee & Co. So one thing that I've seen on TikTok is people take drop cloths. I have so many drop cloths. They take drop cloths, they cut them down, and they use that as their tablecloth. So that is exactly what I did. And I just cut it down and I put it in the washer. They were right. When you throw it in the washer and the dryer, it creates this kind of fringe. So it's like a great no-sew. You can really tailor this to whatever size you need for your specific table. And it's neutral enough that it's not super season specific. You can use this for Thanksgiving, you can use this for Christmas, New Year's, whatever. The only thing I really had to do was just kind of remove any loose threads there and then pressed it with an iron. When it comes to your serveware, your plating, I don't go anywhere else besides the Goodwill bins because it's priced by the pound. So you can find full sets of dishware here. So I have found Crate and Barrel plates. I found 9 of these, so of course I bought all 9, but I'm only going to use 6 in this situation. I've also found Crate and Barrel serving trays, so I'm going to use that as well. If I were to buy those plates and the serve tray at Crate and Barrel, this would be an easy $100. Based on weight, I spent under $10 for all of the pieces. And then I used my birthday coupon at the Goodwill and I got $10 off any item, and I chose to use it on a $10 fondue pot. It was brand new, never used, and totally free. When it comes to napkins, I very rarely would find a set of more than 4 napkins that are all the same. So what I found the best thing to do is just buy fabric and then make my own napkins. So I couldn't find just straight up fabric, but I did find this really kind of linen-y curtain. And with this curtain, I was able to create 8 napkins. And I didn't want to go through the whole thing of sewing the napkins, so a no-sew option was just, again, to cut the napkin sizing down and then put them in the washer, put them in the dryer. It kind of creates this beautiful fringed effect. Pressed them with an iron and then just added some pretty smaller velvet ribbon. I like to add some sort of greenery, so you can make a little mini wreath here, or you could even just add a sprig of rosemary like I'm showing here. Again, we're getting that scent component in every area. Also found this really beautiful glassware that I'm just going to embellish for the holiday season a bit. All of these little touches, they might seem small, but overall combined together create a really beautiful tablescape moment. When it comes to things like what to put on your walls, I think if you kind of checked the box of like framed photography like we have in the gallery wall, it's time to kind of start incorporating other things that are not framed pictures. So when I found this at the antique mall, I got 20% off, and I thought it reminded me so much of this piece that Anthropologie carries that is like an ornament display box. And I'm definitely going to use that as that for Christmas, but I think that this would also be a nice thing to kind of put above a sideboard and add like really beautiful glassware for like a bar kind of situation. Doing that same painting technique I shared with you guys earlier, I like to kind of keep on with the same wood tones, so that works out really great. If you do this technique, you can do it multiple times on multiple different pieces of furniture, and it adds to the cohesion of your space. Added in some thrifted ornaments, just kind of attached them to the tops of the inside of each of the shelves, and then also added in some fun festive touches as well. Placed that third garland just kind of around. Again, we're continuing to want to draw the eyes up, makes our space feel bigger. So then now we were kind of able to check that box off now. Just we added some open shelving, some display kind of wall decor. So we have our framed photography, we have our shelving decor. Now let's add in again a different kind of wall decor piece. So I think a few weeks ago I made this kind of bell wall decor inspired by something I'd seen from Pottery Barn. I will link all of the supplies and a more detailed tutorial on how I did this wall decor piece. And I thought this would just be, again, a nice addition to add for the holiday season, but so affordable because I made it myself. Underneath the bell wall decor, some of you may remember when I thrifted and then DIY'd this floor candelabra, and I thought this would be perfect for the holiday season, so I'm just gonna place these candles in here. If your candles are ever giving you trouble like I'm having here, just melt the bottom of your candle down, just using a lighter and then just pressing it kind of into place. Added some ribbon just to give it, again, a little bit more of a festive touch. If nothing else, just ordering some ribbon from Amazon or even thrifting it, such an affordable way to add just a little bit of festivity to your space on a budget. Moving along now into our home office. So this is kind of what it looked like when we first moved in, just carpet, plain white walls, probably the most simple of all of the rooms, honestly. So naturally, of course, we wanted to make it really moody, but then, we just kind of got tired of that and went back to just plain white walls. swapped out for a different light fixture, and I think it just made the space feel fresh again. You truly can never have too much garland. For example, this was a garland that I turned into a wreath, and now this year turning it back into a garland, and I'm going to just kind of frame around this mirror that I thrifted and DIY'd a long time ago, adding in that same velvet ribbon that we've used in other areas like the stairs and around the vase, just to, again, add that festive touch in and on a budget. Another thing that my daughter and I went to go pick up that I bid on were these Norfolk wreaths. So I picked up 2 of them, and I think for both of them I spent about $15 total. So about $7.50 per wreath. And these look so high quality. They're huge and kind of just the perfect thing to put on top of this little sideboard here, as well as on the back of my front door. And because these are so full, they truly don't need much. You can add bells, maybe a ribbon, or you can honestly just leave them plain. They're so impactful just as they are that you really don't need to do anything to them. And here's kind of a final look of all of the spaces now put together. And I think that this is such a beautiful start to our holiday decorating. The anthem of this channel really is that you don't have to spend a ton of money to have a beautiful space for you and your family to enjoy. So make sure that you're subscribed so you don't miss any upcoming holiday content. And with all that being said, I hope everybody has an amazing week, and I will see you guys next Sunday. Bye for now.